Welcome to Counter Charge. I'm Rob Enough.
I'm Rex.
I'm Kakwa, the People's Champion.
And I'm Matt Croger. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a collection of handsome roosters on a live stream. So for those of you that listen later, we're going to download this as a episode as well. So we'll try and talk you through it, but it is mainly for the purposes of live streaming to go through the 16 Aussie Masters lists. And I'm very much expecting some cheap comments to be coming through on the side at some point. So we'll see how we go. I'm predicting some will be appropriate for screen and some will not be. Yeah.
Well, I see Paul Collins is on.
Paul, the nice man, he's keeping it clean, So
well, he's a racking player, isn't he? So
look,
how clean can he really be?
He's got to be
a filth player, really.
Yeah, he's got to be nice when he's bringing the filthiest list. So I might start doing a brief rundown about how we're running it. So because it's probably become more akin to yours, Rob, in the States, that we've got 5 teams of 3 players. 4 of those teams are state-based teams, and 1 is based on the rest for those who still qualified high but didn't quite make their state teams. And then the 16th player becomes the previous master. So it just happened to work out in a nice round number, and how people qualified is their national rankings, their top 3 tournaments with some auto qualifiers got you onto the team or not, which ended up getting most of the top ranked players an invite. Someone's paying some homage to you there, Kak, but they haven't allowed Facebook to look at that, so they don't want to attribute their name to the comment saying, "Look at that."
It's just the people. The champion of the people. You got the love of the people.
And so joining us today, as mentioned, we've got Kakwa, you've been on you were on a little bit before, I think, at last Clash of Kings or the one before. But we haven't had Rex from Victoria on, who's stormed home late in the season from the Masters to get an invite to the rest team. Yeah,
sure did.
How are you?
Long-time listener.
Long time listener. Nice.
Yeah, first time on. It's great.
Excellent. How both you guys, both your first Masters? How are we feeling?
Yeah, mate, feeling all right. Like, I'm glad that it's a bunch of chumps there, so it's not really like a shouldn't be too many difficult games, I don't think.
I gotta agree. First matchup is against the reigning master, and can I get a challenge? Honestly.
Yeah. Look, and the reigning master didn't have to do his 3 games to qualify, so he hasn't. You're getting him hopefully on a downslope, but to be honest, I'm not even sure he's aware that it's version 3, Rex. So, that's how little he's been playing. So you could be good there, mate. Okay. So it looks like Max was the one throwing you a compliment, Kak. So, yeah. Right. So we might crack in. So we've got 16 lists now. The first, so Rob, you haven't seen them, although I think I kind of said it. I wasn't sure if you heard me. What would you pick as top faction, most taken
for Australians?
Well,
what's Jeff Trace running? That'd be my guess. I'm going to say Varanger.
No, one Varanger, which does happen to be Jeffrey Trace.
Okay.
Yep. We have, out of 16 lists, we have 4 ogres and 4 dwarves. So half the field is taken up by 2 factions.
I mean, ogres got to be one of them, right?
Yeah, ogres and dwarves.
Yeah, ogres. Yeah.
Well,
and dwarves only got better, right, in the new Clash. So
I know.
You might even more.
That's
you'll have more
terrifying.
bandwagon.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But not free dwarves. Let's just make sure we understand that. People were upset. We did a review and we didn't cover free dwarves, but I'm like, no one plays free dwarves because I mean, are you guys playing free dwarves in Australia?
Nope.
We had 0 out of 64 players at Masters.
Yeah.
I don't even think we had any of the best of the rest.
No.
And I think there were
one of our
3
Masters players does play Free Dwarves frequently, but he's not
when he
bringing them.
wants to lose,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
You know,
Or
when
he's
he-
just
when
having
he-
a fluffy game. Yeah,
when he's taking a knee. you know.
I'm just taking a piss. I mean, the reality is they aren't the all defense forward. They get shot off the table easily. So hopefully some of the changes coming in Clash of Kings will improve them a little bit.
I think some of the movement changes will help them out a bit too.
And the rally, they have a rally banner now, which will
Yeah.
certainly help. And they've got crushing streak 2 on the shield breakers. And so hey, I'm they'll be better than they are today.
You thinking of a pivot into Free Dwarves, Rex, as one of the dwarf players?
I was definitely thinking about it, especially with the new flying guys.
Mm.
They seem
Oh yeah, with
absolutely
the
amazing.
what are they called again? The Storm Raven things?
Scorch wings.
No, they're Scorch Wings. They're all Scorch
The
Wings.
Frost Claws.
Mm,
I think that's what they're
that's
called.
right.
Frost Claws,
And
right?
Luke says best thing about Free Dwarves is they're not fascists.
That's true. But
Yeah, it's funny because it's true. All right, let's jump into it. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's remember how to do that. Share screen, and remember to just share one tab. Where are they?
So Paul corrected me. They're Stone Claws, is what he said.
Stoneclaw.
Oh, and then Luke said Frost Talons. So I don't know.
I always forget. Where's these lists gone? I can't see it in a window. So I'm just going to share. I'm going to share the whole window here for just a little bit. All right, and then we'll flick to this. Is that showing up?
Yep.
Showing Dropbox?
Yep.
Unfortunately, I've lost all sight of you guys, but that's all right. I can stick you on another
So what
screen.
is going on with your shirt, Matt? The crowd wants to know.
What's going on with my shirt? It's just usual shirt, mate. Usual shirt. Someone's it's got to bring people into the business, you know, a little bit of class.
I see.
Mm,
Little marketing 101.
if there's
Everybody wants a
satire.
colorful shirt on their doctor. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I can give you the supplier guys if anyone's interested. Right. So first up, we have Grant Spence and one of the 4 dwarf lists. So Grant is from Queensland. He won BrizCon as an auto qualifier, and he has 2 regiments of Iron Guard with throwing mastiffs, so the defense 6 guys, berserkers with Helm of the Drunken Ram, 2 troops of Ironclad with throwing mastiffs. You don't see troops much. Shieldbreaker Horde with Brew of Strength, Golok's Fury, a Stone Priest that has replaces Surge with Radiance of Life, Bane Chant and Scorched Earth, 2 Dwarf Lords on Large Beast, 1 with Brew of Haste, and then like 3 out of the 4 Dwarf players who have chosen to play Dwarves on easy mode, you know, which is not you, Rex, taking the formation, which I think is changing in Clash of Kings from memory, thankfully.
It's getting better. Yeah, it's getting
Yeah.
better, right?
Yeah.
Because the bulwarkers are getting cheaper and there's some extra stuff on
true.
the
True.
Yeah, the
standard.
BSB they can item now too.
Exactly. It's huge.
Mm. Yeah. So I've never played Grant. I think he's moved out of Queensland once. What do we think about this? So we've basically got what?
You got to respect the guys who can
predominantly-
take a troop of berserkers. You know,
Yeah.
But you know, I got 3 Aussies on the table here. You guys have self-respect, right? So you don't bring a lot of shooting, I guess, because
Yeah.
like those guys are dead. Like where I play, where they have 200 shots, like unless you keep them in the woods or behind the woods. So I can respect anybody that's taking berserker troops. That's cool.
Yeah, I like Berserker Troopers actually. Like you say, if you don't have tall shooting, I often have at least a troop, but one of the item I often take on it is the nimble troop item. Can be good as a second line, but we certainly don't see the prevalence of shooting that you guys see.
And the ironclad troops are interesting. I would normally see a troop of Iron Guard as chaff, maybe.
Yeah, I find that very interesting. I mean, Ironclad are fantastic for points, right? So
Yeah.
whether it's troop or regiment version.
You find he's probably not running sharpshooters in this list, so they could be just sitting on objectives at the back or something as well.
Well, I think they'll have to, won't they? Because it's I mean, Luke said Grant often doesn't often lose, but I mean, the one thing he's lacking is any form of real speed.
Yeah, but like I said, he's playing in Queensland, so
Yeah. Yeah. Who you're representing, Kakwa, remember?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. And so out of interest, will be playing in round 1 because we do a seeded round 1. He'll be playing Paul's Goblins. So when we get to Paul's Goblins later, there might still be a little bit of issue there for Grant, given that he's going to lack a bit of speed to get across the table.
Well, it depends on what Paul. We're talking about Paul Collins, I assume. I mean,
Yes.
it just depends on what if he's got war trombones and I don't know.
Goblin filth.
Goblin filth.
That's all I need to say. We'll get to it, but it's
Yeah.
Goblin filth. Yeah. So any specific comments on those?
It's probably it's in the top 4 dwarf lists at the Masters, I think.
I mean, it's certainly a thing for dwarves, right? Is that you can bring a decent amount of drops, so 14 drops, and still have 26 unit strength. So yeah, and resilient unit strength, not easy to take off. All right, so we'll move on, and next up we have the reigning master Ken Ferris with his Forces Abyss, which reportedly is exactly the same list as when he won last time. So well, I guess if something's not broke, don't fix it. But I'd say it's also a matter of what he knows. So we've got Lower Abyssal Horde with a Sacrificial Imp, 3 regiments of Flame Bearers, a troop of Gargoyles, 2 hordes of Molochs, both with Despoiler Champion, 2 regiments of Tortured Souls, an Abyssal Fiend, an Efreet with the Diadem of Dragonkind, upgrading that to a total of Fireball 21. Seductress, the always have to have a Seductress with the Gnome Glass Shield, and then 2 Abyssal Warlocks, both with Drain Life and their native Firebolt, and then Zazusu, the Betrayer, who is essentially the 3rd Warlock. I think
that's a good list. You
yeah.
know what? I learned something last night,
Enchant
actually,
Lightning Bolt.
recording the Goblin Army review. Cloak of Death pops the Gnome Glass Shield as soon as it does a wound to him. Like,
Does
who
it?
knew? Yeah.
There you go.
Automatic
Oh,
wound. It's destroyed.
That's it. There's a role for my Ancient Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. No, and this sounds like a good list.
Yeah.
A lot of shooting.
I think there is a lot of shooting. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, coming up against the Resilience of Dwarves. You said you had him first, didn't you, Rex? So we'll have to get to your list.
Sure.
But what do you think about that list as the person having to play at round 1?
There's a lot of piercing 1 shooting. That Fireball 21 looks pretty nasty. And those Molochs are going to have a fun time into defense 6 as well. So it looks like a tough list.
I think it's one of the things with Force of the Abyss. You end up a little bit surprised by the amount of shooting that ends up on the table when you're combining with the Fireball. And Fireball, like, since they added Shattering, is just so much better than it used to be.
I've been playing a very similar list. List lately. The only comment I got is I think he's probably going to find it harder to win when he's not TOing at the same time.
Yeah, that could be a thing. So yeah, I mean, I really like the Fireball 21 because with the Shattering, right, it can pretty much take off any chaff on its own.
Yeah, it's just a lot of D6. The D6 is still tough.
Exactly. Yeah. So it'll be about, I think, how does he manage that D6 getting?
Do you guys
Seductress with defense 6 with a Gnome Glass Shield is nasty as well.
Oh, so annoying. So annoying.
Do your Force of the Abyss players? I mean, here we see a lot of Cronius, obviously. I mean, is that not something you guys see very often?
Not a frequent army.
No, not really.
Not a frequent army. I think it suffers a little bit from that mishmash of the old and new, which is why it's probably a good thing that they're redoing it next year. Because I think it's a cracking list overall. Michael Geld saying this list is un-Australian. Yeah, I think I really like the Forces of the Abyss as a holistic list. Molochs, Luke's saying Molochs can't kill an Iron Guard regiment face to face. No, they'll get halfway there maybe on their own. Although Vicious helps. Vicious and Brutal with the Despoiler Champion, can help a lot. I don't know. Do you ever go without a Despoiler Champion, CAC?
I don't think there's an option to take it off on the army builder.
Isn't it? Yeah, no, it is. The adding.
Not on
Yeah,
mine.
oh, sorry, I get you. Right, yeah.
Good
Slow
lord,
me
come
up.
on! You're usually
Slow
the
me
one
up,
that can.
I know. I'm just not used to
Sarcasm,
I'm
come
used to
on.
working with these Americans. You know, it's yeah. I'm not used.
We're
to
not so
other
dry.
wits
Is that
being
what you're
on
trying to
here.
say?
Yeah.
Well, it is
All
like
right.
110 degrees down there, right? Where you live, so
Yeah.
I'm sure you're.
I'm going to
you're
make
all
a bold
sweating.
prediction and say Ken Ferris has no chance.
Yeah, no, it's a good list. Like I was going to bring something very similar, but had a brain explosion at the last minute and submitted what I did instead.
Decided to take something better. Right.
Yeah.
Good one. Yep. Right. And then on to Matthew Selleck of Direct for Misfire fame is going to bring his elves, for which he uses the Titan Forge Dragon Empire models. I'm pretty sure it's a lovely army. So he has a Horde of Palace Guard with Chalice of Wrath, 2 Gladestalker regiments, Therenian Sea Guard with Hammer of Measured Force, which is a decent item on them actually. It's the Stormwind Cavalry with upgraded to Quicksilver Lancers and with Jesse's Boots. Draken Rider Horde with the Chant of Hate, 2 Dragon's Breath, an Elven Archmage that has Bagchant, Lightning Bolt, and Alchemist's Curse. An Elven Prince with a Horse Mount and Axe of the Giant Slayer, Argus Rodanar, and a Dragon. Kindred Lord.
That's a really interesting list. I mean, number one, you got a dragon, which we don't see dragons here in the U.S. very often. But then an alchemist mage without a mount. I mean, get your kicks in while you can, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe he was predicting all these dwarfs. And
right.
Fast.
And Dragon's Breath. What are we in? Like, what is it? Like 2021? I haven't seen a Dragon's Breath weapon, war engine in a long time. But I mean,
I'd say some of these choices.
Attacks.
Yeah. I'd say some of the choices are based on sweet models that he has, to be honest, with Selleck.
I've seen his list. I've seen his army, and it is absolutely beautiful. So you're right there.
Is that the best thing you can say about it, Rex?
Well, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Looks really good in his dead pile.
Yeah. Yeah. I find Luke said that the Dragon's Breath are great versus Scorchwings. Yeah, I think some of those I quite like the, forget what the dwarf version's called, but some of these things that move up behind your infantry can still be really good and put out a heap of hurt. And when he's got the 12 attacks, but with elite,
well, the fact that he moves 6, so he's got an 18-inch threat range. So unlike a trombone, which is a 17-inch threat range, you can actually go out and hurt Scorchwings or any of that stuff with 18-inch.
Well, he's going to get a couple of turns shooting it at dwarves potentially right before they're on him. Although he'd have to hang them out in front. And most of the dwarf lifts have a bit of shooting. So,
he's also really good at using the dragon breaths to maneuver his hordes and units around terrain as well.
Yes. Yeah. He's been playing a version of this list for quite a while, and he's actually he's good with it. I've had a couple of games on Newbie over the last year with Selleck, and he does play it well. Part of the issue might be does Benson distract him too much, yelling at him from the live stream that we'll be running?
But no formation, right? I thought all the elf players played the formation.
Yeah.
But again, you said that's the army that he's painted, so he's taking.
Yeah, it might be a matter of that he's got a. And so I think for him, one issue here is compared to a lot of the armies, as we'll see, is a lower unit strength, so only 21 and lower drops. Someone says, "What's a Dragon's Breath?" Yeah, you don't see them very often. You are right. So there's a lot of high unit strength armies, and not just. I think we've talked about it before, Rob. It's not just high unit strength, but high amounts of scoring drops lists, and so that'll be where Selleck has a little bit of trouble, maybe.
He's only got 12 drops, and then a few of them don't score. So
5 don't score.
Yeah, Rob, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah, thanks. He's only got 9 scoring units, right? Because he's got 3 individuals. So,
yeah, the Elven Prince is an interesting option. Obviously, it's cheapish. I love Argus. I don't mind Argus.
This is though. I think he was complaining that it didn't have inspiring on his cast. So this is maybe one more like he just wanted to show how important inspiring would be for this guy.
Yes.
So maybe he's just trying to demonstrate. He's trying to be the change he wants to see in the world.
All right, so we'll move on to list number 4, which is.
Oh, this is gonna. I don't even have to see this. It's absolutely going to be filth, right?
Filth, yeah, 100%.
But you know what? It's not filth. There's not
Do you
any
know
hordes
what?
there.
No, but do you know what? He's also got bad form with a heavy flying list. When he took the all flying Tortured Soul and still managed to get blackjack by Tracey playing dwarfs with very little shooting. So, there is a good chance that Luke Schaefer shits the bed.
Yeah, that's a good point. That the Dragon's Breath also won't score. I mean, I've been playing Salamanders myself, and it's like I can't get the Rhino Cav out of my list fast enough. They're just not worth 250 points. So God bless him if he can make them work.
I think regiments
true.
of Rhino Cav are one of the best things in the list.
For screens, right? But a horde, man, just
I think if you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
screen him with the Scorch Wings, and he's got the Bane chant in there as well, which is really good against all the defense 6 in the meta.
Yeah, Rex, do you just want to read out the list for us, actually?
Yeah, sure thing. So he's got a Horde of Tyrants with Mead of Madness. He has 1, 2, 3 regiments of Scorch Wings, 2 hordes of Scorch Wings, 1 with the Fire Oil, 2 hordes of Rhino Cav, 3 Phoenixes, which are great, a Herald with Loot of Insatiable Darkness, so the Bane Chant 2, and 2 Gekata Skylords on Scorch Wings. So very mobile army.
I do agree with you, Rex. I think I was going to say a similar thing. I think the reason the Rhino Cav could work in this list is because there's 2, and because they've got the Scorch Wings to hold things off. Yeah,
They got the Phoenixes backing up too. Like the
Yeah.
Phoenixes are so strong in the list. I think it's a good list.
Yeah,
And 2/3 of this army is chaff in a pinch as well.
Oh yeah, like I like using the Phoenixes. For me, is that more often than not they end up being chaff themselves, right? At 145 points, but they're like chaff that has a really good chance of hanging around against most stuff for more than a turn.
If you don't go through those rhinos in the turn, you're eating flank charges from everywhere.
Yeah, so I think the construction of the list makes them work, but I've been similar to you in the past, Rob. Is the one time I took Rhino Horde was the worst I'd done with my Salamanders.
Yeah, they're hard to use because speed 14 is like no man's land. Sure, you can hit cavalry, but I mean infantry, but there's just so much other stuff in the list that's a lot faster.
Yeah,
I
I think
Herald with the Bane Chant 2 is going to be MVP for quite a lot of games for him. Just getting that crushing strength to take out all defense 6 stuff.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Yeah, well, you imagine because the big drawback I think of the Rhino Cav is the Crush 1 Thunder 2, right? So that Herald's definitely hanging with the Rhino Cav.
Yeah, the Rhino Cav is sort of like they'll probably die every game, but he's got 10 flying scoring units. So
Needs a trickster. You guys don't play spellcasters? Where's the trickster's wand? Got to put the trickster's wand on the Gekatoa Skylord, man. High 4 gets around. Perfect place for the trickster's wand. But I like the fact he's got a Herald though. He's getting ready. He's ready for the next Clash of Kings, right? He's already built it in, and he just has to find the extra 100 points that this army is going to cost, right? When Clash of Kings comes out.
Yeah.
So
play it while you can. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. And next we have Damien Madigan with his named 6-inch codpiece or Order of the Brother Mark. So he has 3 hordes of Villain Penitents, a horde of Ogre Palace Guard, a regiment of the Order of the Abyssal Hunt with Brew of Strength, which takes them up to Crush 2 Thunder 1, 2 Villain Siege Artillery, a Heavy Arbalist, haven't seen one of those on the table before, an Ancient Phoenix, an Exemplar Chaplain with Battle Hymns and Inspiring Talisman, a Priest on foot with Heal 3 and Bane Chant 2, and then he's got the formation, which I love actually, which is the 2 regiments of the Paladin's Knights, and he's given them both items, so 1 Helm of the Drunken Ram, 1 Jesse's Boots, and so I think the formation gives them Brutal and Iron Resolve, or maybe they had Iron Resolve, so maybe it just gives them Brutal, and then Sir Roderick Demon Bane, so a special character dragon. He's given Sir Roderick the Aegis Fragment, and there's your Trickster's Wand, Rob, although Rob's disappeared briefly. And so that gives it Hex 2, but it's got Brutal Cloak of Death. So that's an interestingly constructed list, I would say.
I don't love the Hex on the dragon. I think that's sort of you know sort of want to be probably shooting your dragon's breath and hitting things with your cloak, but yeah, the
Yeah,
rest
I
of it's
imagine he must
reasonable.
have done. I imagine he must have done it for the range, right? So that
Yeah,
because it's the only thing capable of reaching out that little bit further. Um, yeah. So, yeah, that's. I mean, that's the only reason I can think of it to be on that because he wants. He could have put it on the priest.
yeah,
I
like
guess he
that's
just
right.
wants for height.
Yeah. What I mean, what I really like, and I think, you know, I'd certainly might even struggle against this is like 3 units of knights, so that medium speed, you know, but they're better knights than usual. So they've got, you know, the brutal, uh,
You
with
got a fair
items.
chunk of nerve to get through too with the peasants.
100%. So he's got there's that underlock. Michael Geld asked, do we think that the formation is too much of a point sink or worth the output? I mean, when I've built Brother Mark list before, I've found it too much of a point sink just for my style. But what do you guys reckon?
It's sort of just like a textbook list. So you know, you got three anvils, 4 hammers, bit of support shit. Like, yeah,
That
just doing how
dragon being 350 points, though, it's a lot.
Yeah. That's probably for me the bit that's probably borders on that too expensive, right? I reckon the knights for what you get. But
Oh
the
yeah, I don't
dragon
think you'll
hammer
win a game.
probably will against me, mate. Come on, we haven't got to my list yet. Oh, I haven't been checking who's so Damien will be matched up first against what do we got? He'll be playing Andy, so playing I know, but same team. So he'll be playing Stephen from the ACT, so he'll be playing against Ogres first up. So, you know, Ogres against this are probably a pretty good matchup for the Ogres because you just pop a character into them and disorder the Knights.
He also only has, what, 9 scoring units, which seems very
Yeah, 1, 2,
elite.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you're right. 9 scoring units. So, yes. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the scenarios will be. They'll be rolled on the day, but we're basically doing one of each type. So you're right. There could be a couple that as soon as you lose a couple of scoring units, you're in trouble. And Luke says 9 isn't many, but it's better than Select 7.
There's a few lists that got low drops there, like low scoring drops.
Yeah, true. And then Luke's saying, I guess, with the Dragon CAC is that turn 1 he can, I guess, with Hex can try and knock out Veil of Shadows. Although turn 1 you might not need to move too far for Veil of Shadows to still work. But
For what he's 3 war machines, doesn't really seem worth it. Yep, shit
Also
list.
could be, although also worth it for knocking out heal ability of Phoenixes though.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep, maybe. Oh, here we go, big dog. My list with the Boots of Haste from our recent episode with Dave Fanning, who can't say Boots of Haste. So my list is we've got a horde of Salamander Unblooded with the Boots of Haste, 2 Tyrant hordes, one's with Sharpness, one with Jesse's Boots, a regiment and a horde of Scorch Wings, a Lachilodon, 2 Phoenixes, one with the Ancient Upgrade, a Mage Priest with the Conjurer's Staff that has the native Fireball, Bane Chant, and Veil of Shadows, Battle Captain on Rhinosaur with the Inspiring Talisman, a Skylord with the Trickster's Wand, and then the formation, which is 2 regiments of Salamander Primes and Zolkifli the Unseen.
Do you think you were going to the side event, mate?
Yeah, exactly. Fun event. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got 3 big weaknesses, right? Low def, the general, and I forgot the third, which probably speaks to the general.
Well, I guess tables. How do you feel going into some of these sort of dwarf matchups, ogre matchups?
Look, I've played the version of this list a bit, and it's all right. I think the ogres can counter it reasonably well with their higher drops and knock the fast stuff down. It also sometimes struggles against the really quick lists too that are on your turn 1 or 2. Um, and Michael said, "Was I doing nose beers while writing this list up?" But I've always write my list to be kind of on the highest scoring drop end, just so I've got a little bit of redundancy. So out of 14 drops there, I've got 12 scoring, I think, from memory. So yeah, I mean, one thing I did was I wasn't sure. I thought we'd see a lot of dwarves, which made me not want to bring my dwarfs. But then I also thought we might see quite a bit of shooting. So the formation gives stealthy on those units, and then the mage priest gives stealthy to a bunch of other stuff. So that dictated some of the list building for me. And I kind of needed it given I was running Def 4, and it was also somewhat dictated by what I've got mostly painted for the salamanders.
If you don't go first and get that Veil of Shadows off, there's so much shooting in this event. You're definitely losing something or two things turn one.
Yeah, the tyrants
100%.
don't like getting shot either.
Yeah, exactly. And as Luke said, I've already seen in the much of the list, like the dogs. The dogs will hurt me in the dwarf list big time. So I think, given the amount of dwarfs, particularly with dogs, I think I'm well and truly happy to expect in the bottom couple.
But the Banechant 3 with the tyrants, they're gonna hurt.
They can hurt. So like there's some capability there to take off some of the high def stuff. But the thing, what I've found with the tyrants is they typically only get one round, right? Because of the def 4.
Yeah.
So you really got to pick when they go in. And that's probably the biggest trick with this list is you go one turn too early and then you just melt. And then there's nothing left at the end.
This just feels like a sort of list that you'd take to a GT, just a sort of mixed arms list. And I think some of the other lists in the event are just a bit more tuned, but I think you'll have fun playing it.
Mixed arms is what suits me too, you know? Yeah. All right. So let's move on. And we've got Stephen Tuck Ogres. So Stephen, who is a previous master himself, and he's got his rhino-themed ogres. So he has a horde of shooters. I think the only horde of shooters across the 4 ogre lists from memory. A horde of hunters with Crocodog and Brew of Strength. 3 regiments of warriors. 2 hordes of siege breakers. The Boomer chariots, which I think are in 3 out of the 4 lists.
Yeah, stealthy's pretty good.
Yep. Giant with the giant cleaver option. 2 sergeants on chariot mounts, which I love. A normal ogre warlock. And Nom Nom for 13 units and 23 unit strength. Kak, as a fellow ogre player, how are you seeing this list?
Yeah, mate, that's a good list. I don't like the shooters. I could sort of take them or leave them, but most of the other stuff I think's pretty good. I like the hunters. Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah.
I played against this list a couple months ago, and those hunters are sneaky good with Nom.
I love hunters. I love hunters. I'm really surprised we don't see more, you know, because given that they can hide in terrain, it mitigates some of that defense issue, right? And they're quick and ensnare. So like, yeah, I really like them.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good list. And Nom, like the Warlock and Nom with the Siege Breakers are going to keep them up.
I think you said that the shooters can kind of vary on their usefulness depending on scenario, right? If you get a scenario where you can drop a token near the back and they can just sit there doing their thing all game, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you've got a more where you need to spread out a little bit more and more movement based, maybe they're a little less useful. They can still put out some hurt. You know, against the lower def stuff like mine or Luke's Scorch Wings, you know, they can still, even with a Veil of Shadows, or you know, you only need a couple of hits to do a couple of wounds with the piercing too.
It's just the not unlocking hurts in the ogre list. I always find it hard to get anything in there that doesn't unlock because you want to run all the characters but yeah, no, I like the crossbow chariots too. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that's true. And we have had pointed out that Tucky is a previous master, but also a previous spooner at the Masters. So
Might be a shout for countercharger this time.
Yeah, you never know. So we'll move on to Kakwa, your ogres list. Do you want to take us through it, mate?
Yeah, mate. I got 3 regiments of ogre warriors,
Mhm.
4 hordes of ogre warriors. I've got a troop of boomer chariots with the sacred horn to give them the bigger stealthy bubble. Then I've got a sergeant with orbitering presence, 3 bullies, 3 warlocks, 1 with blade of slashing. Nice and simple,
Warlords.
mate. They're the filth.
Yeah. No, sorry, I was just correcting because I think you said warlocks, unless I misheard you. Yeah.
3 warlords.
Warlords. Deliberately trying to fly under the radar there, Cac.
But this is no nom, so I think it makes it a fairly soft ogre list.
at 27 unit strength, 15 drops, all scoring, and you got your protection from shooting there, which is nice. I think at face value, some people could think this flies under the radar, but like, boy, this exerts some board control with all those characters.
Yeah, look, I'm not glad I don't have to play against it, to be honest. It's when it does go well, it turns the game into chaos, and then just with scoring nimble characters getting around behind things and flank charging.
Yeah,
once
I
for
think
playing chaos.
You took something similar to Clash of Kings, didn't you?
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah, and who are you playing round 1?
Some old fella, Tracy, yeah.
Yeah, lucky you. Which he has a similarly high unit strength list, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, I just think those a lot of those characters last more than one turn in combat. So if they get first charge, you can just hold stuff up while you.
Well, the warlords are defensively the same as a horde of ogre warriors.
Yeah, the 15-17. So good.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What do you think, Rex? So like dwarves, obviously you're a bit slower.
This is terrifying.
Yeah.
Just all the bullies and warlords getting all the angles and flanks. You can't protect everything, and eventually they're going to get through. And once they take 1 unit off, it's just going to be a nightmare protecting all your flanks.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, this is particularly good for Kakwa because, there is usually the question mark at the start of day 2 of will he arrive or not from the night before. So
yeah, so the big advantage of this list, I can play a game in 13 minutes and I can drink 4 beers while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Turn up still hammered the next day and be fine. So we'll go on to the next one. Here we have the filthiest of filth,
Filth.
Paul Collins. So we have 5 hordes of rabble, 2 war trombones, 2 more pup launchers, 2 sharp stick throwers, 3 wingets with bombs away, Groany Snark, a Bangit with the inspiring talisman, 2 whiz, 1 with the boomstick, so taking it up to lightning bolt 5, another one that has knowledgeable upgrade, Alchemist Curse 2 and lightning bolt, a troll bruiser with blade of slashing, and then the formation, so the bang sticks, which I love. He's probably going to claim that that's a little bit of a, an homage to a soft option, but I don't think so. Not when you've got shooting to clean up after you blow up.
Yeah, they're just a hand grenade, really. They just go in and smash something and then die.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't the worst list, as in the filthiest goblin list that someone can build, but again, a lot of shooting, a lot of board control with things like those wingets at speed 10.
He's been playing this list quite a bit lately too.
What was that, Rex?
Does he not have a third war trombone model, or is he just going easy on us?
Yeah. Yes, I'm not quite sure. I think it'll struggle a bit, when war trombones go up to 120 points in the next clash.
Well, I'd love to give you all some insights on how to beat this, but I'm 0-3 against him. So,
are you really against this kind of thing?
Yeah. This list, it's a very good list, and he's been playing it quite a few events now, and he plays it pretty well.
Paul's saying metal model's too heavy. And Paul's a very good player, and I think a list like this, I think we don't see more of it just because it takes a lot to build it. I've said that about goblins lots of times. I think they're probably, I reckon, one of the toughest lists to play against, because it's just got the stuff that can hold you up while it has its way with you.
I think the problem is too, like, it's playing a list like this and then still being able to get to sleep at night. But Paul
Yeah,
seems to have no problem with it.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
Now, look, a gentleman and a scholar, I think this would be a good shout for top list, I think.
Yeah, look, the only weakness with a bit of stealthy going around is, do those war engines pump out enough hurt? Because once you take them out, he's lower, although there's 22 drops. 22 drops and 25 unit strength, but he's probably got slightly less scoring units, I imagine. So what's he got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's the age-old
11
thing. You got to
scoring
either
units?
try and
Seven, eight, nine. He's still
deal with
got
the
11.
toys, or you got to chew through the rabble. And like 5 hordes of rabble take some chewing through.
Well, that's what I've always found playing against goblins, is like you actually really want to take out the stuff that's not scoring. And so if you focus on that, suddenly it's still just got all this scoring left at the end. You know,
Got to kill the rabble.
Yeah, their good stuff is in the non-scoring, and just hope
I
you
think
don't
you
get
have
shot
to
off while you're doing it.
Pick one and stick with it, whether you get rid of a unit strength or you get rid of everything else. Just pick one and don't switch.
Yeah, just go hard at whatever you pick, and don't change your mind halfway through. Yeah, so I think Paul, I've seen around the trap, Paul is a little bit of an early favourite. I mean, Ken Ferris is yet to release his yearly form guide, so we'll see. But I think Paul, you know, so maybe if we keep heaping pressure on him, maybe he'll just choke. So I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that.
I just try and avoid him. I think that's the key.
And Adrian Scott, our man from WA, who I'm very pleased is coming over with his stackable dwarves. How many dwarf lists have we done so far? Only one. So this is 2. So
Just
we must
one,
have a couple to go. So
I think we're just going in order of worst to best.
Yeah. so we've got a regiment of Iron Guard with a throwing Mastiff, 3 troops of Berserkers, Shield Breakers with Mastiff and Chant of Hate, 2 Flame Belchers, Battle Driller, Berserker Lord with Mount and Beast Slayer, Flame Priest, tooled up, so increasing to Fireball 10, Conjurer's Staff, Bane Chant and Scorched Earth, Faber Ironheart, a Dwarf Lord on Large Beast, and then again, easy mode Dwarves with the formation. And 3 out of the 4 units have Throwing Mastiffs. The Ironclad Horde has the Brewer of Strength. Pretty, like not dissimilar to the first one, I reckon. Just a little bit of a tweak.
I think it's very similar to a lot of the other lists, but I think this one's just got a little bit less high defense stuff in it, and
a little bit more shooty output with the 2 Flame Belchers.
Well, I think I know Maxie's running the Flame Belchers as well, but like you know, the Berserkers, and he's got a few points in items and things. I think could probably be spent around, but it's a good list. Dwarfs are pretty good. It's hard to write a bad dwarf list.
It is at the moment, and like Flame Belchers are again can put out a surprising amount of hurt. The increase to 14 inches really helped them in giving them shattering. It's you know, not unlike Fireball, shattering. It just can make such a difference.
Has he got no Golok? Did I miss it?
No Golok. Probably doesn't stack. Doesn't stack for
true.
a plane.
And no sharpshooters either, does he?
No. So I think even compared to the first list, which was Grant's, he probably, in terms of speedboard control, lacks even a little bit again, although the Brock Lord is pretty decent at grounding things if necessary.
Yeah.
But we know Adrian got his invite. We had a couple of pass downs and he did really well at Clash with, I can't remember his list, but it must have been similar. I'm pretty sure he had.
My ass is still sore from our game at Clash.
Yeah. And there he goes. He's commented for us. Golok, too expensive and unstackable.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But he's got the
Checks out.
best unit in the entire game with Faber, so can't really complain.
He's good, isn't he? Yeah. I didn't see the love for a while until I put him on the table. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And I've been a couple of times like you, Rex, with your list, which we'll see soon, is that, you know, I still take a normal 1 or 2 on the side. I think they're pretty good, given that they can give you the inspiring at the same time.
Yeah, I like them.
They're not bad.
I think it's easily the third best dwarf list at Masters.
Mm. Yeah, the one thing we didn't mention is an interesting choice too is the Orb of Towering Presence on the dwarf on large base, taking it to unit strength 2. So Adrian's got 16 drops and 23 unit strength.
I feel too he probably could have dropped. He probably could have dropped something, maybe the Battle Driller, and got a few more spells on the Flame Priest. But
Yeah, there's a couple of spells not from the book in there and not on there, right? So
yeah, I don't know if he realised you don't have to take them all, but
yeah. I
For
think
the spells, I'm surprised there's no Alchemist Curse on there.
Yeah, true. That might simply be maybe not predicting there'd be that much Def 6 hanging around, but because I would say it's probably until this Masters or this year, we haven't seen like massive numbers of dwarf lists in Australia, right? So I don't think Alchemist Curse has necessarily become auto yet, but maybe after this event it will. And
just like
Clash of
this
Kings.
list, how's this list punching through like Siege Breakers or other Defense 6 dwarfs? I think he's relying a lot on probably the formation with the he's got Bane Chanted, formation something, but there's not a huge amount of actual output in the list when you lose Golok and you haven't got the sharpshooters or much other shooting. There's not a real lot of high crush in there.
High
Faber
crush, right.
and the large beast Dwarf Lord in the flanks are probably your best bet, but you can't rely on that.
There you go, right?
Although, other than the Berserkers, like a lot of the scoring strength is resilient. So, yeah. Oh, Adrian's saying he does wish he'd taken more crushing. Too late now, sucker. All right, we'll move on. Andrew Whitehead, best player on Direct Misfire, with his White Horde for Masters, so undead. So we have a single zombie regiment, 2 troops of wraiths, a Soul Reaver infantry regiment with the Staying Stone, 2 zombie troll hordes, 2 white hordes, 1 with Sir Jesse's boots, 2 troops of Rev Cav Jarvis. All those spells are native, aren't they? You can't, because he's a living legend. Necromancer with the Vicious for zombies, which of course applies to the trolls. Inspiring Talisman, Weakness, and the Surge 6. Cursed Pharaoh with Wings, Surgeon Host Shadow Beast for himself, I'm guessing, and a Lycanus with Blade of Slashing. So 14 units, 22 unit strength. This is an interesting list, actually. Yeah, I think.
I just got to duck off, take a phone call for 1 second, but Undead Filth, same as every other Undead list. I'll back in 1 sec.
What are you thinking there, Rex?
I played it at Convic, and he beat me, and it's surprisingly tough, or maybe not surprisingly, but the Wraiths with defense 6 just get in the way and chaff everything up, and it's just an absolute nightmare to try and get through his units.
Yeah, like you said, I kind of see these as a pretty decent matchup against dwarves, right? Where dwarves often have a little less crushing on the table than some armies, because they can hold you up, like you said, with those, because it's still speed 7 wraiths, mate. If you think they were bad, you weren't here in the days when they were speed 10, and still Def 6.
I'm a new player. I'm a baby.
You're a baby. So they were good. I like the zombie trolls. So again, they used to be Def 4, so they used to be a little bit worse. Actually, I remembered the third weakness of my list because it's the same as the zombie trolls. The third weakness of the list is so much melee 4. So, and that's the problem with things. I mean, tyrants get the benefit of high volume attacks, but I guess he's got the redundancy in the whites though, which are melee 3. So he's got a high volume of crushing compared to some undead lists, and I think that's a real strength of this list. There's 5 units with crush 2.
Yeah, I don't think he's super scared of the dwarfs.
No,
No.
no. Rob's rejoining us fresh from
Yeah,
trick-or-treating.
I have a 14-year-old daughter. She's like, I need you to take my friends home. I think I'm a really good chauffeur.
Yeah,
It's
I bet
Halloween
you
here,
are.
so it is what it is.
Yeah,
You'll get there
we're just
someday,
going
Matt.
through-
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
one day. So we've just been through the Noble Undead list, and so I mean, Noble Undead on its own is an interesting choice. I've never seen Jarvis on the table. I've never played Andy, and I've never seen Jarvis on the table. I mean, Rex, you said you'd lost to it. Have you ever played against Jarvis, CAC?
Nah, mate, no. I just assume he's
So-
just a worse version of the normal. What's his name? The other fella you normally
Morgoth,
see.
the faceless or
Morgoth,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Someone got tabled by this list at Convic, they're saying. Yeah, well, he
Adrian
gets
can
extra
probably take
range on
note
his
too.
spells.
Like that's how you put spells on a caster. Big few pointers up there.
Yeah. Yeah, as in they come natively, don't keep paying to add them.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think into the meta,
I-
this is like into the lists that are there. I don't mind this.
Yeah, I reckon it's a good matchup against ogres as well, because a lot of it is a chance of holding for that first turn, while then things get the surge off. So, and Jarvis getting the extra range on his surge and things is, I think is good. Yeah, I like this list. And as we know, the Cursed Pharaoh can be a real pain in the ass.
Yes.
Mm.
And Host
Well-
Shadow Beast is fun on him.
I'm predicting Andy to finish higher than Matthew Selleck.
Well, is that really a prediction? I mean, is that like I don't know.
You're not really going out on a limb there, are you?
No, I mean, come on, Matt. I mean, you could at least push it a little bit farther.
Speaking of not going out on a limb, someone's commenting that extra 6 inches is always great. Well, that's not really going on out a limb. That's just a motto for life. Next, we've got Stephen Demonish's Ogres. So Stephen's played Masters a couple of times. He's got the Hunter Horde with Crocodog and Staying Stone, 2 regiments of warriors. He's my fellow team ACT, I should mention. Siege Breakers, we Horde with Chalice of Wrath. Berserker Brave Horde with Boots of Striding. Boomer Chariots, the Big Deal. 2 Crocodog Wranglers. 2 sergeants with mounts. So 2 of the lists have 2 sergeants with mounts. A Boomer Sergeant, Nom Nom, and Kuzlo and Madfall, who is Steve's one of the only players that I see take Kuzlo in almost every ogre list he makes. Have you guys played? I'd be interested if you guys have ever played against Kuzlo, because I've played against him with my dwarves, and he's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play with him with ogres, and he's if you don't play him well, he's just as tough on the ogre player than that he is with the enemy. But you know, he's so fast with Pathfinder and Nimble, and what speed 6 maybe. He can get out, or maybe it's higher than that. But you get out on the
Speed 8.
flank, and you get way away from where your ogres, and then you can kind of bring him in. And he's got some great spell casting, and he's really hard to kill at 4+ regen, right? I mean, he's hard to pop, and you know,
yeah. It's hard to shoot
so-
him off. You got to.
and if you get him near the combat with the mammoth, or the combat that the mammoth is giving the +2 brutal, I mean, it's essentially 3+ swing on the dice with the not dread and the brutal 2. So it can be super. Oh yeah, I guess I missed the with
You
no
missed,
good for him. I mean,
Jaguar's
she's
list.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
All warriors and all characters. Oh, I know.
Hey man,
Boomer Chariots.
there's something about bodies, right? Just lots and lots of cheap, but cheaper bodies.
I think Kuzlo is probably also slightly a bit of a meta choice, given that you've got that inbuilt hex, right? So
Absolutely. Well, and Enthrall 5 isn't terrible either. You know, you can pull them away and try to maybe, you know, speed 6 is not that fast. And so, you know, you keep something from hitting you.
I like this list too. The fact that he's got, you know, some berserkers, some hunters, some siege breakers, nice mix of characters, nice mix of everything.
Yeah, and Steve's played ogres for a long time, so he's good with them. Yeah, I guess again, one thing for him is compared to some of the others on the lower unit strength side, so that'd be interesting. But having said that, yeah, 2 Crocodog Wranglers,
Those are pretty interesting. You know, I mean, they can be very effective at
and can be
chaff or
really
killing a
annoying.
character. They can be. But again,
Yeah, well,
your pick, that's 2 units that don't score, right? Which is unusual in a, usually an ogre list, everything scores. So,
With Kuzlo too, and then the big deal. Like he's got a lot of combat modifiers he can throw into combats.
yeah. Well, and the Crocodile Wranglers, like their big strength is being able to hide them and still charge, right? And up
Mhm.
to 16 inches. So they're charging as far as a cav regiment at most.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only problem is you're hiding behind usually a horde or something, right? So you're several inches back. So, but yes, they can catch people out. It's interesting is, I'm obviously missed a few lists, but here in the States, it's all about the lightning bolt spam, right? 3 warlocks, Namagarok, and just, I haven't seen a mammoth on the table in 18 months probably from an ogre
Yeah,
player.
well,
Yeah,
And I love it.
warlords
I love the mammoth though. Mammoth's great, but I think
the third ACT list, which we're used to get to, has both the lightning spam and the mammoth. But and we did joke for a while that because we have enough models, because we're from the same hobby group, that we did consider all taking ogres for the team and being team ogre. But now that there's so many, I'm glad we didn't. Speaking of, here we are with Tony Windmill. So he's also gone for some hunters, but with the Dwarven Ale, 2 regiments of warriors, 2 hordes of warriors, 1 with the Staying Stone, a horde of siege breakers with the Chalice of Wrath, the Big Deal, a Goblin Blaster, 2 Wranglers, a Boomer Sergeant, a Bully, and then 2 Warlocks, both with Lightning Bolt, both with Drain Life.
I like
and
the bully though. The bully's a nice choice.
Mm.
He can get out there and touch some stuff pretty quick, and with the Fearless Nerve, dash 14, he can, I know he's only defense 4, but he can punch some things. So it's nice. It's nice to see he's got, and with the Crocodile Wranglers, he's got a lot of stuff that can reach out and touch people in combat.
Yeah,
I
and
like
that
this
Boomer
list, actually.
Sergeants, and yeah, the Boomer Sergeants are a nice like backfield protector, aren't they?
90 points isn't a lot.
Yeah. What's weird is the Boomer Sergeant doesn't, they've been overshadowed by the veteran, right? Like the veteran sergeant, since they got elite and stuff. And the Boomer Sergeant doesn't have inspiring. But
Yeah,
it's
where
still,
he
it's still
suffers,
8
I think,
attacks.
in the-
It's
yeah,
still 8 attacks
in
on
the
4s.
choices, I think that's where he suffers, isn't it? It's the lack of inspiring.
Yeah, I mean he's got the bully and he's got the warlocks, but the warlocks are going to be behind the lines, right, or in the line, and so stuff on the flank. I guess the bully will be out there to give him some inspiring. It's a good list though. I'm going to be interested to see how he gets on.
Tony plays. It's the list he always plays best with is his ogres. So he's played ogres for a long time.
It's an all comers list too. He's got stuff to take out the chaff. He's got some heavy hitters, and the hunters are, underappreciated a lot. I think people get fearful because they're defense 4 and they get shot, but they're fast. Yeah, they're fast.
I love hunters. Just love them. I said that on.
I just wish the models were not metal, right? I guess maybe they've converted them to resin by now, but the sculpts are great. But
well, I've had a bit of a drama. I need to build my second Phoenix, Rob, and I got 2 right legs in the box. So
I told you that when he posted it in our chat. I'm like, dude, that's not your claws upside down. I'm like, that's the same leg twice.
No.
God bless Mantic.
Yeah. There's a chance that my ancient Phoenix is very thematic because he's so ancient. He's only running with 1 leg.
You should
Level him up with peg leg.
A peg leg.
A peg leg.
Well, it's not like you have. It's a shame that you don't have access to a bunch of 3D printers. You could just print the Armada one. It's a damn shame.
Yes. Well, actually, but this is the thing. I've been in a panic this week because I've been planning on, I have been printing all the trophies as well. And then my brand new printer, something's gone wrong with it. So I've, thank goodness for Michael Clark, which Kakwa knows well because he's come to my rescue. But yeah, I've got two printers that aren't performing at the moment. So that was a bit stressful. And then we're on to...
This is who Tony's got to play, Max round 1 too.
Oh.
Yeah, and so Max, of course, has won a couple of things with his halflings.
Yeah, what's going on? Why would he leave the perfectly fine halflings? What a bandwagon jumper Max is. Come on, Max.
Yeah. I'd say he must have predicted there'd be a bit of Def 6 coming, and maybe the halflings aren't quite as good against that. But so he's gone 3 regiments of dwarves, all with throwing mastiffs, 2 units of sharpshooters.
Still
2
the
flame
Iron Guard too, the
belchers.
D6.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. 2 flame belchers, Golok, Garrick, Faber, Dwarf Lord on large beast, easy mode.
He must have
formation.
listened to our review because this is like verbatim what like Alex and some of those guys
Mm.
were like. Here's all the hits that they were glowing over. It's
Oh,
a great
yeah.
list. I mean, those
yeah.
characters, even though they don't score, are so brutal. They're so awesome.
Yeah,
I
the
think
the
this
only
is
thing that
pretty
I
close
don't
to-
usually
Oh, he's a fucking pest though to try and deal with him. Like he's so
Well,
tough.
Garrick's got the Radiance of Life, right? Like
Ugh.
you got
And Regen
defense 6.
5.
Nobody wants to see Radiance of Life behind 3 regiments of Iron Guard. It's a
Yeah,
kick in the
D6,
balls.
Radiance,
Yeah.
and Regen. He just never dies.
Yeah.
But I think this is realistically, I don't see how you make this heaps better. This is fairly
This
close
is
to an
good
optimal
stuff.
dwarf list for me.
Just wait till my list. It's all right.
Yeah.
Well, we know Max is a good
Um,
player, right? He finished what, second at the what was
Yes,
it?
at Clash. Yeah,
Clash
yeah.
of Kings, yeah.
And he won another tournament. So, Max is a very good player, and this is the type of dwarf list that in the hands of a good general can win a Masters. I think the main thing will come back to, like a lot of dwarf lists, is against the other Def 6 stuff. Can it put out enough hurt?
I think the biggest issue with these dwarf lists is just they struggle to win big. They'll win,
Exactly.
but they win, 4-3 on scenario and that sort of thing. So I think they'll struggle. But again, if you
That's-
win all your games, you win the Masters, won't you?
Yeah, and that's what I've always said, and I think I said to you, Rob, after your Masters cast before, I said the one thing, like everyone's saying dwarves, I said I predict that they won't for that reason, because the difference here is, I think if someone wins 5 games with the small number of players, they win the Masters in Australia, whereas that's not necessarily the case because the Masters is so much bigger in America, so you've got to win big in your 5 games as well.
Yeah, in America, you pretty much got to go 6-0, right? Or 6,
Yeah.
5 wins and a draw.
5-1, but the 5s have to be hefty.
I think we've only had we have had a couple people that went 5 and with a loss. But you can't do that with dwarves because, as Kaka was just saying, you got to win big, right? You got to, if you're going to lose a game, you got those other 5 need to be huge, and it's really hard to crush somebody on scenario with dwarves. Especially if you get the, God bless you if you're playing Rays or something. It's like
Pre-clash anyway.
Well, yeah, this list though is really good post clash. All he's got to do is just figure out how to. No, he didn't have to. Well, he didn't have to do anything, right? Because he's already got the standard in there, right? He's already got the standard in there, and the bulwarkers are going to go down in cost. He's going to have some points to play with. He's like the exact opposite of Luke's list,
And it's going to get
Speaking
the
of
Luke's got to
master
find
rule.
100 points. This guy's got him playing with house money.
Luke is just reminding me that Garrick has short, stumpy dwarf legs and can't
That's true.
char safe after token carrying units, which is how he won when we played.
Yeah, that's so. What one of his units was carrying a token and still chased down Garrick.
That's it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That is
I think
funny.
Max is going to win 100%. Gronk
Mm.
Master.
I have the top 3 as Paul, Max, and Tracey, and we haven't covered Tracey's list yet. Rex, do you want to do the honors and take us through your dwarf list, mate?
I sure can when I can find it and get it up.
It's in front of you.
There it
Just
is.
look at your screen.
Oh, there we go. So I've brought the defense 6 filth with 4 regiments of Iron Guard, all with Mastiffs, 4 troops of sharpshooters, a horde of Earth Elementals, just to get into that terrain, Mastiff hunting packs, got Golok's Fury, Garrick Heavy Hand, a Steel Juggernaut, and Faber, because it's a better Steel Juggernaut, and a Dwarf on Large Beast with the Orb of Towering Presence for the sweet unit strength 2.
Did you realise the dogs aren't defense 6, right?
Yeah, I know. I should have
At
gotten rid of
65
them.
points left.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we know what this list does, and that's survive, right? Is this being from Vic and not having played your Rex, is this a typical list, or have you got upped the defense 6 compared to normal?
No, this is more of a tournament sort of list. My normal list isn't this shooty, but
Mhm.
going to Masters / Convicts, I thought I'd bring out a bit more nastiness.
I do like the sharpshooters for board control. Particularly against it's a good choice when there are things like Scorchwings that can't hide running around. And with the long range, I think piercing 2, when it's cover, it's still only 5s, not 6s. So yeah, I think it's a good mix. Like you've got that good core with the sharpshooters to hold everything else off.
The 36-inch range is just really nice to just, like you said, just good board control and just make sure his Scorchwings can't come up too quick.
Yeah, and I think, so you've got only one thing that doesn't score, just Garrick.
Yeah, Garrick.
Yep. So 14 scoring drops, all of which are pretty tough. What say you, Cac?
That's it.
Look, possibly a little bit slower than some of the other lists. If on some of these scenarios where you got to stretch out, could be struggling. But on sort of half the scenarios, this list is terrifying.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to play this and dominate or.
No, and even when you've got 4 troops of the sharpshooters, you can still spread them out, right? So, as long as there's tokens on your side of the board, although, maybe it'll struggle with the ones where all the tokens are on the opposite a little bit more.
Like Rays, yeah.
Yeah, so particularly against, even though Luke's list would have trouble going through the Def 6, being able to jump over you is a good thing. So yeah, we'll see, won't we?
I'm hoping to avoid this one.
Just doesn't die.
I'm actually hoping to avoid the other 15 lists. I might just sit there and not play. Yeah.
Take the bye.
Yeah. And then we're finishing with the only multiple master, Jeffrey Traish, with his Varangur 2023. And this is a very typical Traishy list. So we saw him go not so typical last year, but he's back. Although he has got 3 non-scoring units, which is unusual. But so he's got 5 regiments of Draugr, which are surprisingly resilient because of their fearless. 3 hordes of snow trolls with Staying Stone, Chalice of Wrath, and Dwarven Ale. So awesome insurance there. 2 mounted Sons of Korgan regiments. 3 Magus, whatever. One's got Knowledgeable and Celestial Restoration. One's got a Horse Mount and Alchemist Curse, and the other's got a Horse Mount and Drain Life. So that's going to, the Drain Life's going to make those trolls super annoying.
Well, 29 unit strength.
Yeah.
That's
Drain Life's not real good against D6 shit, though.
No, that's true. We've got Thane on Frostfang with the Trickster's Wand, and we've got 3 Snow Troll Primes. So as Rob alluded to, 29 unit strength, 17 total units, 14 of which score, and 3 big blocks of regenning, wavered mitigation trolls. It's a very good list.
It's 14 scoring drops. We've had a few that high.
What did he take on the Sons of Korgan? Are they
nothing? No, so Tracy
didn't take stealthy or anything. Oh, that's right, because I think he's explained before. He plays them as like a back line.
Yeah. Tracy likes naked
up.
men.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like you said, there's no stealthy, so maybe it gets hurt a little bit from shooting, but what do you prioritize? I guess you prioritize the Draugr as the easiest thing to shoot off because you have to go hard at a horde of snow trolls to shoot them off.
It's got the typical Traishy list thing that I read it and it puts me to sleep.
After you hit the 5th of the same unit, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I think he's past it though, mate, to be honest. I don't even think he won a game at the last event. I don't know if he remembers how to play.
Well, at a certain age, you start to forget who you are. So, yeah. That's why, his special character at the side event has the special rule, something like advanced age.
Well, I think he's got to do a test each year now to see if he's still allowed to keep playing in Masters. Yeah.
It's like a vision test. To
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
driving. Yeah. Sorry, not sorry, Trashy. If you listen.
Yeah, I got this list first, so yeah, he'll take
Yeah.
his 21 off me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's not much to say, right? Except that it's a very resilient list, and piloted by Trashy, it's going to do a lot of harm. I think the benefit, one real strength of this list in this field, is that the higher def stuff in those dwarves that doesn't put out a lot of hurt, he can probably outlast it.
Yeah.
With the amount of regenning, fearless, and then second wave with the mounted suns. So he's whether he's done some predicting on dwarves or not, I think this is he's got other than not having stealthy, he's got a pretty good matchup against the dwarves, particularly because he's got the alchemist curse as well.
Yeah. No, good list. You'll do well.
Yeah. Right. So that brings us to the end. So I've made my predictions of top 3. Rob, you didn't see all the lists, so we won't get your predictions.
I mean, we're looking at this list, and I'm just, I did see a fair amount of defense 6, and we're talking a lot of slow defense 6. So, I mean, this is a great army. He sticks it into you, locks you down, and then he's got some stuff that, Thanon, Frostfang, Alchemist Curse, comes around and does the damage. He doesn't need the troll to do, he doesn't need some of that stuff to do the damage. He's got, and mounted suns, if they can get in without dying, then, as long as Rex is, doesn't shoot them off the table with sharpshooters, I mean, they hit like a ton of bricks. So it'll be interesting. I mean, this army isn't going to die. But, Andrew's undead list looks solid as well. I think there's a lot of synergy in that list as well. So, I mean,
yeah, I think Andrew's, yeah, you're right. That could be a smoky. And against this list is probably not too bad because it's got the bit of flying and surge.
Well, he's got the Wraiths, and he's got, yeah, exactly.
I mean, and if you can hinder the trolls, they're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, and they I mean, the thing about the trolls is you I hate to say it, but you probably just leave them alone, right? Because it's so hard to get through defense 5 with that kind of nerve and the regen, because most of those lists that we've looked at, hardly any of them have something that'll punch through a horde in one go. You're gonna need 2 or. Well, actually, I take that back. I mean, Luke's list has got some punch with the 2 Rhino Cav, right? That could do it. But Tracy's not going to let him. He's not just, he's going to tie him up with the Draugr and say, "Here, eat this garbage." Well,
and has some similarities also with your list, Cac, in that the 3 characters, the scoring characters, like their nerve is reasonably high. Well, certainly the top point is reasonably high. So like your 3 warlords, which are 15, 17, that can just make them incredibly hard to deal with. But these have the benefit of having regen.
Well, I think mine's clearly probably the best list at the event, but this one's up there, I suppose, top 10.
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's get top 3 predictions. Rex, give it to us.
I think Trash, you got to put Trash up there. I think you're a bit of a fool if you don't. I really like Cac's list. It's all the angles that by day 2, game 4, 5, people are just not going to be looking at it because they're going to be too tired. And I think Luke, if he gets the right matchups, he's got to be the smoky. If he gets the right matchups, he can win all 5, I think.
Well, he's got a good matchup first round against me.
Wait, how did you make the Masters, man? I'm just curious. How did you make the Masters,
mate? I don't know. You're probably
get to the point where you have to go to the next cut and the next cut.
Yeah, you're probably unaware, but we've got a really famous sportsman in this country named Stephen Bradbury, who was famous for winning a gold medal at the at the Winter Olympics when everyone else in the ice skating race fell over. So
okay.
That's how.
Sometimes you just got. So it's not sometimes how fast you go. It's just you stay on your feet.
That's how the ACT makes it, except for Stephen, who's good enough.
Right.
Yeah. Cac, what's your predictions?
Mate, I think Maxi's going to win it. I think Paul Collins will come second, and I think I'll take an early submarine and sneak third.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Mate, I just saw you get a little bit higher there as you pumped your own tyres in the chair. Right. Well, hopefully everyone got some enjoyment out of that. Any final comments?
Go Dwarves.
Go Dwarves. Well,
Uh,
when you're 25% of the field, you're a chance.
That's it.
Who's
All
going to be
right,
the best
well,
dwarf player? Who's going to finish the highest of all the dwarf
ooh,
players?
oh yeah, that's interesting. Actually, I actually think Max's is probably the most well-rounded dwarf list.
You
Yep.
see, you
Yeah.
just hurt Rex's feelings, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I think Rex's is super good,
That's
but if you can deal with D6, you sort of the list doesn't have a real lot else. Whereas Maxie's got a
Exactly.
bit more shooting, bit more mobility.
Yeah. Rex, are you going to predict yourself? Are you going to pump yourself up like CAC or?
No. It's my first Masters, so to be honest, I'm happy if I get a win. But
You're just happy to be
it's gonna
there.
be fun. Have a couple beers, have a good time.
Yeah, we've got a lot of new blood at this Masters. So I'm just looking. So it's just come up on screen. So Tuck's been, so Adrian never, Max never, Tony never. So that's 3, CAC never 4, me 5, Paul 6, Grant 7, Damien's been, Andy hasn't, so 8, Selleck hasn't, 9, Rex 10. So 10 out of 16 is new blood at the Masters. So that's we've had a good change up in the scene this year. So all round. Someone said they're rooting for the undead list. So
Yeah, I
someone-
mean that'd be my pick. I think the undead are an interesting. You don't have an EOD in this, right? There's no
No,
EOD
no.
players.
No,
So,
if
I
I was
mean-
picking a smokier, it'd definitely be Andy because he's a good player, good list.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, keep countercharging.